All right, I think it's safe to say the Villages doesn't like us.
Well, they don't like anybody else.
That's true.
They don't.
Quick, before we get into the video, we started a new listing channel. It's going to be completely dedicated to listings only. I'm going to give you some more information about that at the end of this video. We just hear so often from people that they don't even really realize how many options are out there. And that's kind of what we're doing, right? We're trying to expose all the different options you have, and it's sort of an overwhelming task because there's so many. There's like over 500 communities in Florida alone that are either 55 plus communities or are, what do you call it, like a
Targeted. Age targeted, but not deed restricted.
Not deed restricted.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely touch on that, talk a little bit more about that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to go over who the Villages is for, who the Villages maybe isn't for, if you're on the fence, some insight there. And then the main thing we really want to talk about is how to go about it if you really don't know what you're looking for, if you're interested in the Villages, not sure if it is for you, if you think another 55 plus community is for you, if you think any of this stuff, like what is the appropriate way to approach the whole thing and kind of land in the right place for you.
So the reality is that when you go into a community that's brand new, like the Villages,
and it's not just the Villages.
It's not just the Villages. Any developer, any brand new community that's got developer sales agents, they aren't representing you on your needs for any community in the area. They just want to sell you their community, and they'll tell you why their community is the best. And you may or may not ask the right questions, and then they'll lead you to why their community fits that. Not horrible, just part of it, but that's why when you've got somebody that's on neutral ground that knows you and cares about your needs, then you get other options. I mean, we have a lot of testimonials where somebody said, we didn't even hear of that community. We happened to mention to one of your agents that blah, blah, and next thing they know, they say, go to blah, blah, and we love it here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't want to.
Based on your club foot, you'd probably want to join a community with the Club Foot Club. And I know the perfect community.
Fred Flintstone came to mind, and I don't know why, Barney Rubble. But anyway, you probably don't even know who that is. Of course you do.
What?
The
Yeah,
old cartoons?
of course, yeah.
Anyway.
So how do you know if the Villages is the right place for you? So directly from the Villages, as of 2023, there are over 145,000 residents.
And then does it say anticipated growth?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they'll as long as they can keep growing, they'll keep growing. I mean, at some point, Florida is just going to be, you know,
We'll all be the suburbs of the Villages.
Could be, right?
Well, anyway, so let's get to who would love the Villages. And, you know, we've done a lot of interviews, so we've met a lot of the folks that would live nowhere else. Mm-hmm. I would say that an avid golfer is that just...
I think it's going to boil down to, because you can do a lot of that stuff, I think it's going to boil down to sort of like a personality trait for someone that's a little bit more outgoing, and it feels like a cruise all the time. It's
good point.
Super fun, and some people just don't want that sort of like energy and chaos around them all the time, and that seems to be like what the Villages is. And we've talked about this. I mean, people are probably getting sick of hearing us talk about this, but you're surrounded by people in a 55 plus community. They're all in the same boat. That's the other thing that some
Cruise
people like.
Boat.
I didn't do it on purpose. Pun unintended.
It's true. I will say that some neighborhoods, you can just meet your neighbors and you don't have to walk around the cruise.
Why would you move to the Villages and be a recluse?
Well, I would say the only reason why would be if you don't drive anymore and the golf cart gives you some independence.
Yeah.
Because
true.
that is something that nobody has. You can't go to the hospital on a golf cart.
It's hard to beat.
You might get in golf cart jams. Really. And it could be, you know what I mean, a little bit hectic on your golf cart.
Golf cart jams because of sandhill cranes walking across the road, probably.
But just tons of golf carts. I mean,
Yeah.
and in the season, interesting thought, if you're going to think about the villages, make sure you go in March and check it out. Then you'll know if there's waits in all the restaurants or golf cart jams, etc. You'll get to feel that vibe.
Yeah, well, and then, I mean, going in, if you have the opportunity to go in multiple times of the year, it's probably the best bet too. And we've met people that are summer birds instead of snowbirds.
Yeah.
They live somewhere where they don't mind the cold. I don't think they were somewhere where it's like super, super cold, you know?
Probably not.
But they would just come down for the summer, and then they'd rent their house out for 4 months. Yeah, could be teachers.
They were teachers.
They would rent. They were teachers, and they'd rent their house out for the 4 months of the season or whatever. And it would literally like pay for most of their house, and they'd have a free house in the villages. They just have to come down in the heat of the summer.
Yep, which is also, by the way, we live here.
bad.
We love it. It's not that bad.
That's a good idea.
It's not a bad idea if you're a teacher and going to retire someday, right? You could do that in any of these communities, actually.
Yeah,
There's
well,
a
not
shortage.
necessarily, because a lot of the communities won't let you
Do short-term rentals. That's truth. So that actually is another not so good thing about the villages, because some people don't like the idea that the house next door is a VRBO or one-night rental. It does happen.
It does happen. I don't think it's
Prevalent.
yeah, I'm sure it's not the whole community's freaking rented out part-time.
No.
And it's nice to have that option. So how should you go about this? I think I have my take. How should you figure out whether villages is right for you or not? How should you figure out if you're thinking about retiring down here, if this is even the right state, the right area? How should you, it's a daunting task. Again, we said earlier, over 555 plus communities. How should you approach it?
So even if a 55 plus or a neighborhood is your cup of tea as well, right? Gosh, so most people are retiring with a significant other, but there's plenty of folks retiring as singles. And I gotta tell you, that's one of the benefits of a 55 plus gated community. It gives you a little security. And especially if you're a snowbird, you got other people watching your house while you're not there. I think it's just really delving into your lifestyle. And if it's not your current lifestyle, if it's your dream lifestyle, because you've been working so hard and you haven't been able to do your dream lifestyle, what that is. And then if you sort of put it on paper, your personality, we can really help. And it'll do, a big thing will be your stomping grounds. We talk about that all the time. What do you need outside the gates? Because you do want to leave the gates, although you never leave the gates in the villages because everything's self-contained in the gates, right? But other communities, you might want to know where the cycling paths are, like this West Orange Trail here, or the hospitals, are they nearby, and that kind of thing. I want a Kohl's, but I don't need them all. I'm okay with a couple of mom and pop restaurants. I do not care about the chain stuff, that kind of thing. It's just your lifestyle. So it's self-reflection.
It is self-reflection. And I'm going to be a little bit more concrete in terms of how to approach it. Like, if you have the opportunity to come down here, absolutely come down here. Cannot suggest enough, do the Villages lifestyle visit. You get to stay there. You just be prepared, because you are going to have someone that shows you around the community, and their whole job is to sell you on the community. Same thing we talked about earlier. But as long as you're aware of that and understand that that's what that person's job is, then go through the lifestyle tour. You'll get a good sense of the community. Take time to go check out other communities. And then even if you're at a higher level where you're not exactly sure what area you really want to be in, consider obviously price ranges, because they're going to vary quite a bit, especially when it comes to HOAs and stuff like that. We've talked a lot about that on this channel, where you have higher HOAs along the coast for some reason, typically, or in specific areas, and you have higher home prices and things like that. So consider your budget, really consider your lifestyle, where you want to end up. Take the time to check these areas out first. And then if you want to be in the Villages or Central Florida, or you kind of boiling down your different areas, take the time to go visit those communities. And this is where it's perfect to have an agent, whether it's us or anybody else. Find someone that you can trust that knows these communities, knows these areas, and has a network of people that also know the other 55 plus communities in the other areas that you're considering, and have them show them to you. And take your time making the decision and really soak it all in, because there is too many options, and you almost have to come down and see them.
You can decide on your
Forget the home though.
Don't worry about that yet, because once you choose your area and then your favorite community, you'll find your home. So some folks want to still mow their lawn, or they'd like to keep that HOA down and not have as much control by the HOA on their home. Well, there's communities out there that don't do everything for your home. So that your HOA might be $100 a month versus $400 a month. So you got to know what you want to do around your own house. So an interesting thing about the villages is they don't have an HOA. You pay a CDD because you don't own anything at those common areas, but you have to do all the stuff for your own house.
They just have a different name for it.
Amenity fees.
Yeah.
Versus an HOA.
And the villages, actually, they're very reasonable. And I think it partly due to the fact that it's so large that those expenses can get...
They say it's reasonable until you talk to somebody that says, you know what, I have to pay money for every gym, I have to pay money when I joined the photography club, and I actually can't get on the free golf, and then I have to pay to get on this.
Golf. So everything's kind of separate.
So trust who you're with, learn the math, and then know what you're getting into.
Well, I think that then is the biggest piece, because what a good agent is going to do, not a developer, but a good agent that's on your side, is going to essentially build a profile in terms of what you're looking for and who you are and what's going to suit you best. And then they have zero incentive to push you in a direction other than where you're going to be happy, instead of trying to sell you on a specific community, specific lot, specific this, specific that.
And I promise you, if the villages is your lifestyle, they will say, we are so glad we got a chance to show you everything else, but this is definitely your lifestyle. And then you go back to your developer agent. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of those.
Yeah.
Jeremy's out there. He was like, that ended up being, he wanted a new house.
You're definitely not wasting anybody's time, and the agents don't mind it at all. They'd love the opportunity to show you different stuff. And the other thing is the villages, so we've talked about this before, is split. They've got the VLS and the MLS, and they have new build. So a village's developer agent has to sell you new build. You can't work with another agent. Then, if you're going to go resale in the villages, you have 2 separate listing services where all the houses are. So every single house for sale is like split 50-50 on the MLS and the VLS. So if you're thinking resale, your best odds are going with 2 agents anyways. So you have the opportunity to see, the full spectrum of what's even available there in the first place. One last thing, we started a listing channel. So we're going to start doing listing walkthrough videos. You've probably seen us do this with Tanya, Trisha, my mom, and myself have walked through some homes. We're gonna start doing a dedicated channel because there's too many listings for us to continue to put on the main channel, because we'd have too many videos. You guys would be inundated. So if you're interested in seeing homes for sale, go check that out. Also, if you are an agent in a 55 plus community and have a listing that you'd like to promote on the channel, reach out to us.
Sounds good.
Sweet.
And if you're a seller and you want to talk to somebody about listing your home, we do it all. Thank you. We'd love to hear from you.
Great exposure.
And by the way, you said inundated, and it's inundated.
Inundated? Inundated?
Inundated.
Inundated. Mm-hmm. You sure about that?
Inundated. It's not inundated. It's
inundated.
Inundated.
Inundated. It is inundated.
Probably. I know, but you said inundated. Well, I think you did.
Come on, do you want me to go back and highlight every time you said something wrong? I'm pretty sure you called a golf cart a golf course earlier. That just came back to my head. Just
now you're
gonna... Oh yeah, you remember that when you messed that one up?
We should have a reel of bloopies, of
bloopies. Oh, another one.
Bloopers. Yeah, that would be fun.
We could put a good one together.
We could. Yeah. All right, that's it. Thank you.